How's it going, everyone? This is a tough day. This is a really tough day to be recording this video. Mere hours after I watched a movie that was about celebrating an icon, the life and the death of an icon, another icon in the entertainment industry passed just like that. And both these actors had profound impacts on my life through their work at different phases of my life, and it's just devastating, honestly. So this is gonna be a sort of different kind of review. Apologies if my energy or just the pace is a little off today. But I have a lot I want to say about this movie, and it's going to be more of a laid back video today, so. But getting right into it, Black Panther Wakanda Forever is once again directed by Ryan Coogler, and it is the 30th film of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. My god, they've made a lot of these. It starts off as you think it is. Wakanda mourns the loss of their king T'Challa, and the world and Wakanda both have to figure out how to move on from this great loss, but also the world has turned its attention to Wakanda's resources now that the Black Panther was a public figure. A lot of international tension ensues, along with the potential threat of war thanks to the Atlanteans brought to surface by their king Namor. So Shuri, Queen Ramonda, Okoye, and the rest of the gang not only have to cope with this precious loss, but also defend their homeland. And wow, the first thing I'm gonna say is this movie is not a fun one. This is a very emotionally resonant, powerful, slow building movie. This is not a popcorn flick by any means. This movie was clearly dedicated to the work and life of Chadwick Boseman, and it does a very good job of respecting and moving on and taking a pure moment, the first couple moments of the movie, to let the characters live in that space. You see how Wakanda was affected by T'Challa's death. You see how the royalty, the empire, and also how the world is processing. But it's a very often quiet, introspective movie about just that. It's about grief, and it really lets the characters marinate and process through their recent trauma. And that's something I really respected. That's an aspect of how this movie really differentiates itself from the rest of the MCU, and especially Phase 4. I feel like this phase of the MCU has had the worst as far as drama and especially humor, so seeing a movie that's not afraid to let its characters sometimes be miserable because an awful thing has happened and really let them emotionally process this without constantly cutting to a joke, that was really refreshing to see. So I really respect how the movie took the first couple moments to really dedicate itself to Chadwick Boseman and specifically T'Challa. But there's also another 2 hours and 40 minutes to go. This is a very long movie. I absolutely love this movie's exploration through its characters of Shuri and especially Ramonda of how grief affects different people in different ways. Shuri finds herself in a different phase than Queen Ramonda, who's older and wiser and have seen more loss over her lifetime than Shuri has. Their mother-daughter relationship is the emotional core of this film, and Angela Bassett and Letitia Wright as Ramonda and Shuri respectively give fantastic performances. In fact, the entire cast is wonderful. Lupita Nyong'o as Nakia, Denai Guerrera as Okoye. Winston Duke does so much with his little screen time as M'Baku. It was fantastic to see him back. And these characters have to deal with such emotionally raw and powerful scenes that the movie really gives them time to breathe, and they really killed it in the performance department. You feel every inch of their pain, both the characters in the movie and also the actors in real life. They just put it all on display here. I also really enjoyed Tenoch Huerta Mejia as Namor in this film. He's the grand supreme ruler of this underwater city, and he has a lot of bones to pick with the surface world. He has a fantastic origin story, and the movie does a really good job with constant parallels between the surface world of Wakanda and the underwater sea of Talokan, Atlantis, whatever you want to call it. The thing I love about Namor's character is he's not just out for wanton destruction. He has a lot of internalized rage, and he has a lot of problems with how humans have interacted with his people over centuries. But he's calm, he's calculated, he has a really controlled demeanor, and you can also care that at the end of the day, he really cares about his people. This being a Black Panther film, of course the soundtrack is fire and the overall production design is very great. The hair, the makeup, the world building, the locales of Wakanda, it's brought to life very well here. And although the movie's called Wakanda Forever, I was kind of surprised about how much time we spent outside of Wakanda. And I kind of wish the movie gave us a more boots on the ground perspective of how the everyday people of Wakanda, the civilians, are, how they're grieving with T'Challa's death. I would have liked to spend more time there. But in that issue alone, we start to slowly unravel the multiple issues that this movie has, unfortunately. My biggest issue with this movie is it feels like it's trapped in two different worlds. You can clearly see the divide between the movie the cast and crew wanted to make and the movie that they had to make. They wanted to make a powerful, emotionally resonant dedication to their late friend Chadwick Boseman, and this movie is that. But it's also the 30th film of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So they have to introduce new characters, they have to continue storylines from other films, they have to make this, in fact, a sequel to the original Black Panther. There's a lot going on in this movie. There's several branching storylines about how not just Shuri, but Okoye and Nakia and the city of Atlantis, how a post-Wakandan, a post-Endgame world is dealing with everything the previous movies have had. But you also have this new character, Riri Williams, and she's fantastic. She has a great bond with Shuri, they have fantastic chemistry, and overall Riri adds a lot to the overall tone and levity. She gives a lot of good humor and levity that's needed in this film. But she's really important as a character, as a scientist, as a prodigy. She drives a lot of the inciting incident forward, and that's where the movie starts to have branching pathways with storyline. It becomes, oh, we have to protect her, we have to find out what she's about, we have to introduce Atlantis and Namor and get you to empathize with his story. And all of these things, while they're good elements in and of themselves, they bog the movie's pacing down to a crawl. Rewatching the first film mere hours before watching Wakanda Forever made me respect it so much more in that its story is so streamlined, every scene blends so perfectly and affects the next, it makes the movie near flawless, at least when it comes to its pacing. Every character, even the new characters that are introduced like Claw and Killmonger, have a direct personal connection to T'Challa and the Wakandan people, so they add to the story and the tension immediately. Whereas in this film, the pacing is constantly broken up because we have to take time to explore the ancient lost underwater city and get us to care about these new characters. Once the movie hits the midpoint, the second act forward, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of high stakes. The third act is much better than the first film, but it crams so much into that first 2/3 by the end, it feels like the third act is also a little rushed and bloated. You can just feel how much was left on the cutting room floor with this movie. So many times a crucial scene or character moment just feels like it's cut away from super abruptly because the next plot point in this near 3-hour movie just has to keep the ball on rolling. And I feel like part of that disjointed nature of it really stands from how this movie really hurts from the lack of a strong lead, from the lack of Chadwick Boseman. T'Challa was the constant of the first movie. It was his film, it was him trying to figure out exactly what to do, how to be a good man and a good king at the same time. This movie doesn't have a Black Panther at the sole focus, and it's a really tough, conflicting position I feel about this film because I don't feel like there's a single bad scene in it. But with how many things are going on individually, it just doesn't mesh the best. It feels like multiple different movies at the same time. Overall, I love the tone of this movie. I love the performances. I love the characters. Oh my goodness, I want to talk about Shuri so bad. I love the direction they gave with her character, and Letitia Wright absolutely freaking killed it. I love the supporting cast. I love the villain. There's so much to like about this movie, but it just doesn't come together the best. Regardless of that, it feels kind of disingenuous to give this film an arbitrary number score because I feel like they did the best they could given the circumstances. The circumstances being a early COVID production schedule, an unexpected untimely death of your lead actor causing delays, and the lack of cooperation from your lead actress due to some anti-vax nonsense causing even further delays. The fact that this movie is even competent or watchable, much less as good as it is a miracle in and of itself. So those are my thoughts on Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Have you seen it yet? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure you rewatch the first one. It holds up better than you think. I'm Pac. Thanks so much for hearing my perspective, and I'm out for now.